A long, long time ago, 10 years specifically, there was an anime that blew up the internet and introduced the genre to everyone called Isekai. That anime was S.A.O. Yeah, that's pretty much all it's known for. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Thursday Thermal Takes, where we bring to you the most black swordsman of takes upon the most VR of Thursdays. Today we'll be going into Sword Art Online, the infamous anime that started basically the whole isekai trend 10 years ago. I can't believe it's only been 10 years. It feels like a piece of ancient history for us weebs and weebettes and everyone in the middle. As you all know, I started a sort of mini-series on this channel going into anime that I thought are just completely and totally overrated. I picked 4 different anime from the 2010s decade. And, well, at least anime that started in that decade. Some of them have since been ongoing for a while. But for anime, the 2000s decade, the first episode covered Attack on Titan. And go watch that. Link probably somewhere on this video. But yeah, number 1, Attack on Titan. That was a very overrated anime. Number 2 will come as a shock to probably no one, being Sword Art Online, because this is quite possibly the most overrated anime of all time. If you were to look at this anime from a distance, not really knowing what it was, just looking at the posters, the cover art, you would kind of think that this is a generic isekai anime, and you'd be right. It basically started this whole trend of protagonist gets trapped in another world somehow, can't necessarily get out, has to defeat the final boss, the Demon King, the end of the game person, whatever, and then go on to get a bunch of women. It's generally kind of a same general formula. It doesn't stray too much. The isekai genre has been wildly heralded as both very anime-esque and very cringe at the same time. So if you actually like cringe anime like I do, then you definitely like SAO and certain things like that. But if you don't like cringe anime, if you don't like very mundane formulaic plots and everything, SAO might not be for you. I have only seen, of Sword Art Online, I have seen roughly half of it up to this point, because they've made a lot. By them making a lot, I think they should have stopped about halfway through season 1. You had in the summer of 2012, 10 years ago, Sword Art Online, season 1. The main character, Kirito, you had him go and try to beat the game he was stuck in, and he completes that in about like 12, 13 episodes-ish. And then he ends up going into another game to try to save the love interest again at some point, and then have some weird sort of relationship with his sister, like this weird kind of tension. I guess she's not really quite blood related, but very anime, very cringe, very normal. There's not a whole lot more to it. Kirito just kind of gets stuck along with 10,000 other players in this VR headset. The first 13 episodes, the actual part where they're all trapped in the game, and when you die in the game, you die in real life, that was actually a really good part of the series, and that was pretty much the only part I would say is worth watching, if we're being perfectly honest. You could basically just go through, watch season 1 of Sword Art Online, and then you've seen all the good stuff. The second season involves a bunch of guns. They have a new protagonist who's a girl, and she shoots a gun, but then she meets Kirito, and then he comes in and ends up using a lightsaber in a game that's designed for guns, and ends up helping this lady beat Evil Dude. And then the rest of the season is just kind of random shit. I mean, it's sort of the same as the first one, where the first half is actual story and the second half is just random shit. And then you have more and more and more Sword Art Online stuff. They had Gun Gale Online Alternative, which was not necessarily lesbian, but a lot of weird tension between the women. It wasn't that good. It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't that good. And that's all I'd seen. This already, that I've described to you, is nearly 70 episodes, and most anime don't even get past 25. And the reason that I have not watched anymore is because it never gets any better. It was just kind of a down spiral of garbage. The reasons that I don't like SA are different from reasons other people don't, but it is pretty much all around perceived to be somewhat overrated to an extent. Rather than watching SAO, if you really had nothing else to do, going out and pulling weeds in the backyard would be about as good as it is to watch SAO about a season and a half in. Of the 4 anime that are the Overrateocalypse anime, the 4 horsemen of the Overrateocalypse, SAO is probably by far the worst. Everyone freaking watched it, but even the people who watched it don't even like it. The main character, Kirito, going through and just kind of not having any problem cleaning up every bad guy in his path. Sort of a Mary Sue type character, but maybe the male version. If I had to go through and rate this anime based on season to season, which I'm doing right now on Mal, I'd rate the first season season, 8 out of 10, because I basically say it's about a 7.5-ish, and that sort of rounds up to 8. Second season, at the very best, it would get a 7, but by that I mean essentially a 6.5. And that's really only taking the first half of that season into account. The final third of that season is absolute garbage. And then finally we get into the Gun Gale Online Alternative, which came out a couple years later, and bleh. It was better than the second season, but not by any stretch of the imagination to where it would actually get a better rating. I'd say maybe about a 6.75, 7 at the most, 7 out of 10. It was surprisingly good compared to season 2, but it was still pretty trash. And yeah, moral of the story, just because an anime is super duper popular doesn't mean it's at all relatively good whatsoever. I would say that in the grand scheme of anime, Sword Art Online is maybe about like in the 50th percentile, about half of all anime being better and half of all anime being worse. I would say that Sword Art Online at best could crack maybe my top 100 if we're just talking about the first season. Overall, SAO, pretty big sad, not all that good, kind of trash, and ridiculously overhyped. Every character from SAO is kind of a piece of cardboard, and every setting from SAO that they have is just kind of a basic fantasy garbage backdrop. There's not really a whole lot to the story outside of the first half of a season, but hey, cash cow's gonna cash cow. If you can make a ton of money just making garbage content and putting that garbage content out there and having a bunch of people watch it, unless it's free like what I'm doing with my garbage content, I don't really want to see any of it. I don't want to see more SAO. This is the anime that has had several sequels and probably the most airtime of any isekai ever. And there are 14 to 15 at least isekai that are better than this. And we've sort of covered, basically in these last 2 episodes, the top and the bottom. Attack on Titan, the best of these overrated horsemen. SAO, the bottom of these overrated horsemen. And we just have 2 more in the middle. And those 2 more will be coming very shortly. I know it's probably been about 3+ months since I had the Attack on Titan episode. Maybe people were wondering when I'm going to do the second Horseman, and now is the time. But anyway, do definitely let me know what you thought about this take in the comments. Definitely like and subscribe to the video. You can go follow me on Twitter at ProAntagonist2, where I actually can post things because I can't do community updates on YouTube yet. I need to hit monetization first. Also, definitely, in addition to subscribing or ring the bell for notifications, you can watch the Attack on Titan video somewhere on here. Probably will be the video that comes up. We have a lot more content coming onto this channel. Get all kinds of different seasonal anime videos that I'm making, especially when it comes to the tier listing I'm doing. Gotta make tier lists for all the different seasonal anime. And yeah, see you guys next Thursday.